Welcome to tonight's special report, where it's our dream to make your nightmares come true. Tonight we'll be telling you about the shocking Alex Jones news that has us pooping our pants, the prestigious Poison Ivy League presidents who are buying stock in gas chamber companies, and new charges that are starting to make it look like Hunter Biden might be a criminal, as well as Trump is dominating Hunter's dad in the polls, and what are we gonna do about it? But first, LeBron James is making waves with a new career high, sitting for the national anthem at his son's USC basketball game, who is now finally back on the court after suffering a very safe and effective heart attack at the ripe old age of 19. Now naturally, some people operating with the extremist ideology of Respect America thought LeBron's move was disrespectful to America. Yet LeBron seems to feel good about it, as he doesn't respect America. In the recent past, evidenced by his own words, the US is a racist, oppressive country, says the billionaire who is loved and cherished by millions in this country, so much so that they literally call him king. I wouldn't mind a little of that oppression myself. With his billionaire status, hundreds of millions of dollars of his wealth has come from his endorsement deal with Nike, which pays him with profits that come from their rather large margins due to using the sweatshop labor of oppressed people in China. Profiting to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars off of oppression, there's nobody better to listen to about oppression due to his first-hand experience doing it. And we send our sympathies to the king for his oppression. But UFC fighter Colby Covington appears to be less than sympathetic about James disrespecting America by sitting during the national anthem. Here's what he had to say about the king.
If you hate America so much and you don't like this country that gave you $1 billion, leave it or come deal with me. You go to China, go to these sweatshops that you employ all these laborers and use these women and pay them pennies on the dollar to make your millions. You, LeBron James, you're a coward, you're a spineless coward, and you're a bitch.
I think he speaks for all of us on that one. Oh, we're still rolling? He's just being racist. In other news, recently we were treated to seeing a congressional testimony on college campus anti-Semitism that involved the heads of prestigious Poison Ivy League schools looking rather anti-Semitic themselves. It is absolutely shocking to think that the heads of institutions that admit some students and reject others on the basis of their race could possibly be exhibiting discriminatory behavior. Since the testimony, UPenn President Liz Magill was forced to resign as her testimony didn't seem to go so well in the eyes of some. Take a look.
Ms. Magill, at Penn, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's rules or code of conduct? Yes or no?
If the speech turns into conduct, it can be harassment, yes.
I am asking specifically calling for the genocide of Jews. Does that constitute bullying or harassment?
If it is directed and severe or pervasive, it is harassment.
So the answer is yes.
It is a context-dependent decision, Congresswoman.
It's worth noting the rather pleasant smile she had while doing a stellar job of answering the questions. Why are you smiling like that, Ms. Magill? Oh yeah, we are talking about the genocide of Jews, so it's understandable why you're joyfully smiling so much. I consider it to be the most soul-smoothing smile I've seen since the head of Biden's short-lived Ministry of Truth, Nina Jackowitz, joyfully haunted the nation with her smile. And just like Nina, the UPenn president's smile helped her work her way into not having a job anymore. But why are the heads of America's most prestigious institutions, that you should definitely send your kids to, receiving so much unfair criticism for suggesting that calling for the genocide of Jews doesn't even qualify as bullying or harassment? Isn't it just context dependent?
It is a context-dependent decision.
Well, our Hitler Knows Best independent fact-checking system gives their statements a rating of 5 stars for accuracy. Meanwhile, within this story, Harvard president Dr. Gay is also catching additional heat for allegedly plagiarizing her PhD thesis during her indoctrination years. But I think we all know that plagiarism is mostly context dependent, which apparently means it's okay to do. During Dr. Gay's testimony, when asked if calling for the genocide of Jews is bullying or harassment, perhaps she should have just plagiarized someone saying yes. Despite her being pretty 1930s Germanish and her cheating her way through her indoctrination thesis, Dr. Gay still somehow has her job. Most likely due to her high DEI score because she's a woman of color and for literally being gay. And in other news, enemy of the deep state #1, Alex Jones, has been re-platformed on Twitter and is getting a ton of exposure, which has our cold-blooded overlords getting a little anxious that more people will learn about what they're up to. Not only did Elon Musk reinstate Jones on Twitter after a 5-year ban, but Musk also held a Twitter Spaces with Alex Jones himself, racking up tens of millions of listens. Now, on the matter, I've been rather firmly instructed to warn you not to listen to Alex Jones. Everything he says is rather dangerous misinformation. It's all lies. Him being the first person to warn the world about what Epstein was doing proves that he's shamefully uncredible. Here you can see Jones, while on trial, telling such lies.
One of the things you've been talking about on your show is your allegation that government officials are aiding in pedophilia, child trafficking, and the grooming of children, right?
What, you mean like what Jeffrey Epstein did with the Clintons?
Ridiculous.
And if being reinstated on Twitter and doing a Twitter Spaces with Elon Musk wasn't enough to scare us about how many more people will learn the misinformation about what's actually being done to them by the deep state and pedophiliac satanic elites, Tucker Carlson had Jones on his show, giving him even more exposure. In this clip, take a look at Jones making up crazy lies about Biden, suggesting he's somehow in decline and needs to be medicated so he can at least kind of look mentally with it.
But yeah, he is completely out of his mind. He wanders around for the entire 2.5 years. It's getting worse, naked in the White House. In the middle of the night, doesn't know who he is. They have to give him a bunch of drugs, a bunch of amphetamines in the morning. Then they've got to drug him at night. Sometimes he's got to, though, he'll like be out for the morning for a while and then comes back out at night for a ball. That's when there's a real problem.
He is on drugs. I have established that. And I know someone who witnessed it. I'm not guessing at this. I know someone personally who witnessed him taking amphetamines.
We know it's all lies because there is no one we want to silence more than Alex Jones. He shares information about us elites that we desperately don't want you to know about. I mean, he shares misinformation that's extremely false and quite dangerous. Next up in the news, Hunter Biden, whose brother did not die in Iraq, is the son of Joseph R. Biden, who thinks his son did die in Iraq, has been in some hot water that just got even hotter. The apple that didn't fall too far from the tree has been charged with 9 new tax crimes, amongst the others. The biggest travesty with all this is that these mounting legal cases are no doubt, unfortunately, going to be distracting Hunter from creating even more paintings that sell for $500,000, which definitely isn't also a money laundering scheme. But we have proof that Hunter's innocent, which happens to be a video of Hunter saying he's innocent. Take a look.
I'm here today to answer at a public hearing any legitimate questions Chairman Comer and the House Oversight Committee may have for me. I'm here today to make sure that the House Committee's illegitimate investigations of my family do not proceed on distortions, manipulated evidence, and lies.
We know that these charges are all frivolous and that Hunter is innocent because Hunter said so himself. Someone who has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on prostitutes, crack, has committed a felony with a firearm, and has taken illegal bribes from Ukraine and China, putting our national security at risk, certainly wouldn't stoop to doing something unbelievably low like lying. And in presidential news, new data shows that Trump is leading Hunter's dad in the polls in all 7 swing states. We, however, are not worried about Trump's growing popularity and Biden's declining popularity in the 2024 election. 8 years of media propaganda hasn't worked. Federal indictments haven't worked to take him down, but we have a plan to stop him that we know will work. What is it? Well, I'm not going to tell you.
And they'll have a left-winger assassinate Trump.
Well, yeah, that's the plan, but we weren't supposed to tell you about it. But you probably already knew that we're in a desperate spot, and that's the only thing we have left. So that's it for today's news. Ladies and gentlemen, and all the Zemzers in between, if you don't abort your kids like we want you to, then make sure you have them look up to American-hating superstars like LeBron James, and get them educated at prestigious universities like UPenn, MIT, and Harvard, so they can be equipped with plenty of success-fueling hate. They'll have a very bright future illuminated by a good social credit score, a policy that can only be ushered in by adults who grew up with influences like that. Good night. As a freedom-loving person, I want to be informed about what's going on in our country and around the world. But a problem with that is obviously we know media can be corrupt, they can be very biased. This is something that's given me so much frustration over the years because I want to be informed without being misled. I want transparency in the media that I consume. That's why I consider Ground News to be a godsend. Ground News is a website and app that compiles news from around the world into one place with transparency, telling you the exact political biases and leanings of the sources of information that you're consuming. So for example, in recent news, we have the story of Elon Musk reinstating Alex Jones on Twitter. Ground News tells you the total number of articles published on this story, 231 in this case, and Ground News makes it easy to compare headlines from every article on every story, and you can click on it and read it on its original source. And Ground News also tells you about the bias distribution, which is the political affiliation for each source and each story. For this particular story, we can see 53% are affiliated center, 28% affiliated on the left, and 19% on the right. And it's not Rolling Stone, for example, telling you what their political affiliation is. I'm not going to trust that. It's 3 independent news monitoring organizations that are determining what the bias distribution is. My freedom-loving friend, go to ground.news/awaken to see through the media bias and stay fully informed. And subscribe through my link for 30% off unlimited access this month only. Ground News is what all of us freedom lovers have been waiting for. One more time, that is ground.news/awaken. Enjoy, my friend.